This podcast is a proud member of the Unidentified Network.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day I produced a Louis, had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the track Xtra. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track Extra. For those of you who don't know, On the Track is a show which we put out for about half an hour every Saturday afternoon, and On the Track Extra is a show that we put out for about half that on Wednesday evenings. I was going to go through the whole list of things beginning with M, but Miss Lauren isn't here to help me, so I'll just say it's a mixture or mishmash or something of hard science, weird shit, and surreality. And if you don't know what surreality is, let's go and ask her.
When I am not being rolled up alive for my crimes of vampirism and mass murder, I have always been interested in surreality. It is what happens when you overlay strange and discombobulated things upon what passes for a normal life and a normal time. And guess what happens? That is surreality.
What's in the show, apart from being a mishmash of blah, 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 blah? Well, it's mostly about mystery animals and things like that. And this week, we're going to be talking about a mystery animal that is supposed to be extinct in Britain, but which there is every piece of evidence that it's nothing of the sort. And furthermore, it's a mystery animal that you might well be able to go out and find for yourself, especially if you live in the south of England. But before we start, I want to send my condolences and commiserations to my old friend Mark Rains, who's also an old friend of the show. His dog, Mitzi, died last weekend, and I want to send healing vibes and love and peace to Mark, who has had Mitzi for many years and must be terribly, terribly upset at her loss. We're thinking of you, old friend. God bless you. And as I don't believe in a heaven that you go to that doesn't have dogs and cats in it, God bless Mitzi as well. Now, back to the show. We're all familiar with very dull blobs in the middle distance that someone says is a Bigfoot, or a splodge on a web camera that somebody says is the Loch Ness Monster. But have a look at this. This is a photograph of a creature called the large tortoiseshell. It was once reasonably well known in Britain, and it was quite widespread, but around about 100 years ago, for some reason that we really don't know, its population crashed, and although it slowly began regaining ground and getting more breeding colonies and more locations during the Second World War, by the early 1950s there was another population crash, and it has been presumed extinct since sometime in the middle of that decade, and it was finally declared to be extinct about 15 years ago. Extinct in Britain, that is, not extinct in the rest of the world, because it's found quite widely. Look at this. This is the European range, but they're also found east to Turkey, southern Russia, the central and southern Urals, Kazakhstan and the Himalayas. They appear to be back in Britain now for the first time in 70 years. And if you want to find out the latest sightings, just type in UK butterflies into Google. And when you get to this website, go to the bit where it says community, go down to where it says forums, and then scroll down again until you get to the sightings forum. And the sightings forum has a very interesting record of all the large tortoiseshells that have been recorded in Britain this year. And if you look down the list, it provides completely compelling evidence that for many years now they have been here. Well, all this evidence asks a lot more questions than it answers. The first one is, of course, are these natural residents? Is this a natural recolonizing of the south of England? Or are they, as it claims in Wikipedia, the descendants of artificially bred and released specimens? Well, first of all, I don't think it really matters. And second of all, don't trust everything you read in Wikipedia. You will, if you bother to look, notice that there is no entry in Wikipedia for the Centre for Fortean Zoology anymore, and there's no entry for me as a person anymore, although dear sweet Richard Freeman has somehow managed to escape the purge which happened a few years ago when a person from the Netherlands decided that cryptozoology was all pseudoscience, and I was the most pseudo person of the lot, and probably didn't even exist in the first place. I was probably a hologram invented by those people from QAnon, and so he took a concerted effort and a concerted campaign to remove the CFZ and all sorts of other cryptozoologists from Wikipedia as much as he possibly could. And the reason that I haven't gone back is because I can't be bothered at the moment. I would be very pleased if somebody watching this show would like to get in touch with me and put a new entry for the CFZ and for me personally on Wikipedia, but I certainly am not going to do it anymore, because it will only be taken off again immediately, claiming that I am self-aggrandizing. But enough of that. Wikipedia was a brilliant idea and I supported it massively when it first started, but it has become more and more untrustworthy, and although there are things that you can trust there, and it's quite a good resource for finding out broad brushstrokes of history, when one goes into anything even slightly contentious, it has become a place where a bunch of annoying people who have more money and time than sense go around deciding that the world's knowledge should actually reflect their opinions of the world, not actually things that are evidence-based. I mean, look at this. I've already shown you how they have said, I'm not sure who they are, but they have said that this large tortoiseshell in southern England has been introduced by people breeding them in captivity, but now it says, a sentence later, it contradicts itself and says that there's now evidence to suggest that the species is recolonizing the southern England. Which one is true? Well, as I said, I don't think it really matters where they came from. The fact is that the British ecosystem is so completely and utterly emaciated and decimated that any situation in which a species which was once extirpated from our shores has been reintroduced, whether it's naturally or at the hand of some well-meaning amateurs, has got to be a good thing, because otherwise we will end up with the most depleted ecosystem in Western Europe. Because we are an island, a lot of the recovery that's been shown across Western Europe with creatures like wolves, lynxes, jackals, bears, all slowly recovering their original status. And by the way, you will remember that a few weeks ago on the Track Xtra we had 2 shows featuring Jakub Wojciech, who is our representative in the Czech Republic and in Slovakia, talking about his work with bears in Slovakia. Well, we now have 3 bears, including a cub, which, if this is a cub that was born in the Czech Republic, it will be the first one to have been born in that part of Europe. For hundreds of years now they have been recorded well into the country itself, which has got to be a good thing, but I sidetrack again. The important thing is that we have animals doing the job that their species is supposed to be doing and interacting with the other creatures that are in the biotope in which they find themselves. And that is massively important, not just for cryptozoology, but for zoology itself. It is one of the things that I cannot stress strongly enough, but when one is investigating the appearance of strange or anomalous creatures in an area, one needs to investigate the biotope as a whole, because the appearance of something new from outside will change the way that the biotope is working. And if you can map these changes, then one can get a fairly good chance of trying to understand what has happened to make these changes happen. Okay, I realise that that was a fairly clumsy way of putting it, but I do hope you know what I mean. When it comes to the changes in a biotope which are wrought by the reappearance of a butterfly like the large tortoiseshell, those changes are going to be fairly infinitesimal. But if you've ever heard of the butterfly effect, and no puns intended, everything influences everything else. And the reintroduction of the large tortoiseshell, whether it is deliberate, accidental, or totally natural, will change the environment, and will change the environment in that particular biotope for the better. Now this comes to and opens up another weird question. These things have been shown to be breeding in Britain for at least 4 years now, and they've probably been breeding here considerably longer. What I want to know is how long do they have to be recorded here and be recorded breeding here before they can be added back onto the British list of butterflies which are recognised as natives of this country. I know how it works for the British list of birds, but nobody can tell me how it works for invertebrates. So please, if you know, or if you know somebody who might know, please get in touch, because this is something that totally fascinates me and somewhat confuses me. Thank you very much for letting me rant on about butterflies again, but I like ranting on about butterflies, and I've become to the venerable age now that I think I can rant on about butterflies once in a while without people criticizing me too much. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to be back on Saturday. What am I talking about on Saturday? I have absolutely no idea, because I have run out of shows which have been pre-recorded. However, it's mainly because I knew I was having my operation, and so I recorded loads of shows in advance so I wouldn't have to work during the time that I was recovering from my hospital appointment. But now I am on the road to recovery. I have the stitches out on Wednesday. In fact, I'll have the stitches out the day that you see this show. So, what's going to happen next? I don't know, is the word. But something will be happening, and I'll be back on Saturday. And are you listening, Mr. McCrinnan? If you're there watching the show, Mr. McCrinnan, I will be there doing the live chat and the notifications and all the other stuff I do. And so if you're watching,